here we are. We've got an agent. We started playing abroad. We released some nice places on some nice labels. And what do I do now? Like, this is maybe becoming my full-time job. And this is actually a breaking moment for many kind of new face, but already full-time artists. How do I maintain it? And there is so many elements around it, and there's so many dangers in this career that can end your career very quickly. And I've been thinking about it from my own perspective many times. Now I've been doing this for quite some time, like 7 years and 4 years full-time. And we also witnessed pandemic, which is, you know, kind of paused everything. So how do I maintain it? Well, first of all, ask yourself, what goals did you actually make when you started gaining the team and recruiting the team around you? Did you want it to have long term, or do you maybe just see yourself do this for 5 years, smash all the gigs and retire from the industry? Both are absolutely valid desires. There is a bit of a shade, I guess, sometimes from the underground scene saying, well, you want to do it long term and you don't want to rush this and that. It is true. But I also have to say there's nothing wrong to have an ambition, and let's say you want to be in the big stage within the 5 years, that's fair enough. But how do you maintain this kind of current frequency, and how do you develop from there? Well, first of all, reflect what you do. Every time you play the show, don't just, you know, dismiss it. I think in the beginning I was so excited to do that. I went on tours, I would be partying after, you know, I would be socializing, and I didn't really give it like a much thought, I have to say. Like, things were just one after another. But if you're already aware of this now and things start blowing up for you, I would recommend to actually have a good like reflection, like what went good, what I think went good. Did people enjoy? Did I get a good feedback? Did promoter say good things? Do I think they will invite me back? If you start having reoccurring gigs, this is the best compliment you can get as an artist. It means that you were pleasant to work with, which is a very important thing. Don't be a diva. You know, that you played amazing music, and there is already a crowd that would like to come back. That means promoter is sure to sell tickets when you come back. Also, another part of maintaining is the lifestyle. Especially in the current climate, some of the crews and collectives, they gained success quite quickly. They went straight from partying with their friends to the bigger stages. There's also some collectives that have been consciously building their brand, and that's why they also know these things I'm about to say. Lifestyle. Of course, we work in nightlife. Of course, it's, you know, your job is to create a party, but having actual sensible relation to this and seeing it as work is extremely important. Because now that you have a team, they expect you to show up on time. They expect you to, you know, gain certain earning. You also need to take it seriously and responsibly. So, of course, occasionally everyone would stay and hang out with promoter after the set, you know, or go to another party. That happened before. But don't get too lost in the spiral, and eventually you start collapsing. Your health can't handle all the fun part anymore, and this is how the maintenance cannot be done. You know, unfortunately we've seen those cases many times. We've seen people burn out. We've seen people get addictions, and so on. And nightlife is actually quite, I wouldn't say damaging for your mental health, but it definitely influences it. And I think it's hard to understand it when you just begin and you want to be a part of everything all at once. But if you're aware that now it's become a professional thing, then I think it's a much healthier way to maintain it. And you will also keep the inspiration, because if it's all becoming about the party and, you know, you also stop caring about the skills. For example, what I did in pandemic, when pandemic started, I thought, oh my God, I will just forget everything. And so I invested in the actual full club setup. I never had it before pandemic. I had like smaller things, and I would play a lot out there, and it was kind of enough. But I thought this would be perfect kind of like way to progress and to kind of stay skillful, because if you don't play for 2 years, you do actually forget how it is, and you don't have crowds in front of you and so on. So do not underestimate the fact that you need to practice in your free time, and even if you've been doing this already for 5 years full time, it's actually necessary to keep it kind of like on a professional high level. I didn't do that because I didn't think it would be really necessary, but I actually, once I've got the professional set up, I was like, great. Or if you have access to a studio where you can rent it, it's a good idea to have some kind of tricks ready for your next gigs, and if you look at the very big, like high level, high profile DJs, when they play large stages, they usually have at least the first 10 tracks prepared. That's at least in my experience. So, in order to maintain like a good profile DJ, become a high profile DJ, you need to really know your music. Like take it responsibly. Practice. Have some playlists ready for a situation. Reflect about what you've been doing. Reflect about your crowd. Talk to your team. One last thing I wanted to mention about maintaining and developing is, at some point you might disagree with your team, or you might grow to a new level where your team can't handle it, or maybe the team has just never been right for you. And that's normal. I've changed a few agents and I'm not ashamed. Like sometimes it's just not a fit. It can be personal. It can be the way you guys work together, and your vision maybe changes. Maybe you want to do more of a co-production with others, or you want to become more of a producer rather than a touring DJ. And let's say there is agents that want you to tour like 365, 150 shows a year. That there is people like that, and it's fair. But I'm just trying to encourage you, if you're in the situation of where you need to change, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to go out and speak to some of other agencies, because by then they probably know you, they've seen you on the lineups, on the billing. It's totally fine. And if you indicate that you need to speak discreetly, most of the agents would be happy to have a conversation with you about that. So don't be afraid to change your team if that's where the goal you reached. There is a belief that you need to be loyal with your agent, and you can be, and it's beautiful when it happens. But changing a team that can enhance your career is actually a very natural step, because eventually, let's say, your agency maybe can be too small, and it's time to join a bigger roster where you can cooperate with other artists. So that would be like kind of like a part of the maintaining and improving where you stand now with an agent, with a release and good gigs.